talk, then the screen doesn't go on me. Hey everyone, it's Kristi. We are now on air, and you are here to watch the gang get back together to have a chat about the last Hangout we had and other things that happened. So yes, we had a Hangout. Not everybody who was in the last Hangout is in this one, but we do have somebody new joining us, and I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves, and then we're going to get talking about our Hangout, about Sargon and Sargon's other appearances this week, and other things that are demonstrative of fallacies and things like that. So, yes, you guys know me. I'm Kristi. You're at my channel. And I'm going to go in the order that you appear in the bottom of my screen. So, Kevin, would you like to just say hello?
Hello.
Kevin Logan, everyone. Kevin, he's here all week. Tip your waitresses. And next is Michael.
Hi. How's it going? Hi. Hi.
And you had a video that just came out today, didn't it?
I did. I got my very first Go Kill Yourself. That was kind of nice.
You want to tell us the name of your video? I'm helping plug your channel here.
Oh, sure. It was called Why Do Anti-Feminists Hate Feminism / the Patriarchy, featuring website body odor.
There we go. It's a very catchy title.
Thank you. I thought of it myself.
It's very strange. It's very strange that anti-feminists would tell you to go kill yourself, because they're usually such nice people.
I know. I usually get along with them really well. I must have said something that, you know, offended them. I don't know.
And next we have the big demotivator opinion.
Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't get that at first. Okay, yeah, my name is Tim. I have the channel Demotivator Opinion, and it's really fucking awesome. It's got the best videos. Basically, all the other people here have shitty videos compared to me, I'm just saying. And everyone on the internet as well. Just shit videos.
The humblest guy I know. Definitely the most humble guy I know. So what we're going to talk about tonight here is, Sargon. I guess might as well just come out and say it. So last week we had a chat on a Hangout, and the idea behind the Hangout was that we had amassed a lot of evidence that demonstrated Sargon using fallacies or other ways that he misused evidence or didn't present evidence. And I have in that video a list of anywhere, I don't know, it's like 15 different fallacies that we've covered. And again, the point was not to make arguments against what Sargon was saying. It was to link up his behavior with fallacies and then looking at the definition of the fallacies and going, yeah, this behavior fits. So he, as a consequence, made a response to us, so we had decided to make a response to his response. But in the meantime, something more sort of timely came up. So we're going to start off talking about Sargon's appearance on the, well, it was Sam Cedar's channel, but he appeared with Michael Brooks. So if you guys want to get in on this, we're going to, I guess let's start with alphabetical order. In this one just to get going, and then if you want to follow up with more comments, make sure that you guys put them in the chat. So alphabetically, I think that makes Kevin the first person up. Actually, you're in alphabetical order. This is so much easier.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
I was about to do a joke about being called Aardvark in real life or something. That would have been. But
you didn't have to.
But that would have been fucking silly. Yeah, he appeared on this on the Sam Cedar channel, and it was really strange because he essentially made it into a kind of a bitching contest between him and the host by refusing to answer the host's question on a very basic point of what is a regressive. Because essentially Sargon's definition is anyone who I disagree with who isn't completely right-wing is a regressive. That's it. I mean, it's just an ad hominem. It's just an insult, frankly, is all he does. And he actually does it in the show itself. He says, "Oh well, I'm glad I've verified that I'm now talking to a regressive." It's fuck you, Sargon. You don't know anything about this guy, clearly. It's anyway, but he made himself look a bit of a prick. And then beautifully on Twitter, I went after. I poked the bear, as it were. I poked the hornet's nest, and all of the fucking stupid little hornets came out as they do. And they said, "Well, he's already defined it, blah blah blah," and referred me back to the video which I'd mentioned in our Hangout, where I said it was the American Enterprise Institute. Sorry, it was the Heritage Foundation. That's much more acceptable. But yeah, in the definition he was given in that video by the Heritage Foundation for progressives. So basically, a compound fallacy, which is fucking beautiful.
Okay, Michael, you're up next on the reactions and thoughts.
Oh, I disagree with Kevin that it was fucking hilarious that the whole damn time Sargon was asked to define regressive left, and he accused the host of being a regressive, and as well as Glenn Greenwald, and he was like, you guys are basically the same thing, and the host just kept saying, what makes us regressive left, trying to get this definition out of Sargon, and the whole time he would just be like, yeah, so about this thing over here, and then he would just ask another question.
Oh, can I just interject the brilliant thing? Yeah. Sargon didn't get the joke that the host made when he wouldn't answer the question, what links me and Glenn Greenwald and all the rest of it. He said, the only thing I can think of is we're all Jews. And then Sargon went crazy. Look, he wasn't actually saying you're an anti-Semite, he was taking the piss out of you for dodging the question, you moron. Fuck it.
So we've got Tim, and then he's going to be the Skeptic Feminist, although after Tim's thing, we want to have an announcement from the Skeptic Feminist. But I know that as this conversation is going to move into the concept of the regressive left, I think you said you wanted to just jump in and give your take on it. So Tim is up, and then we're going to hear from Russian Deadpool on an announcement, and then any other thoughts that he wants to offer on the topic. So.
Yeah, so I had like two initial impressions, and the first one is that Michael Brooks is kind of a dick, and he's not nice to people he interviews. He's real harsh. Like I don't know about you guys, but I actually watched the Majority Report, and like Sam Cedar, who's like the main guy, he had a request to libertarians to debate him, so people would always call in and debate him, and he would always tear them apart completely. Really sarcastic, like really harsh. They don't take any shit on that show. And I think Sargon probably could have looked that up or something and discovered that like this guy is not going to let you bullshit. He's just going to like be merciless, you know. So that's the initial thing. So I think Michael Brooks is not an easy person to debate, and Sargon did not seem aware of that. And the second point is that he just failed to provide a definition of regressive left for like. Somebody said he provided one towards the end. I didn't see it, but like for like 40 minutes, he's just sort of equivocating, and he seemed to answer every question with another question or a deflection to something else, like, oh, did you know they called Majid Nawaz a porch monkey or something? It's like, yeah, but what's that got to do with what regressive left is? Could you please tell us what it is, you know? So those are my two impressions. A, the interviewer is a dick, but that's kind of just what he's about. And then B, Sargon failed. Yeah, okay. That's my initial impressions.
Thanks. Yeah, and definitely the issue about the regressive left definition was what stood out for me the most. And I might talk a little bit more about this afterwards, but again, I want to move on from my talking to get to the announcement, which is we've been graced by the presence of Russian Deadpool from the Skeptic Feminists. Hello.
Hello. How goes all the things?
I think they go pretty well so far, but you have a very special role here. You are going to update me and everybody in the room and everybody in the YouTubes as to what is the status, well, maybe a little backstory about the debate that you had set up, and then the opportunity to actually use that format and where things stand right now.
Yes, so originally we wanted to, we on the Skeptic Feminist wanted to debate an anti-feminist. We wanted to hold a formal style debate in the same fashion that Christopher Hitchens and Tony Blair had. So you know, it was going to be very strict kind of rules, and I'll outline those. And what ended up happening is we've kind of taken up the role of moderators instead between Kristi and Sargon for their debate. And the original proposition to be argued was, is feminism good for the world? And that's kind of being debated at this point in terms of which actual topic the debate is going to be about. But the rules still remain the same, so I would like to outline those a little bit. They are the strict rules. I'm just going to read the strict rules about the burden of proof and how empirical claims must be substantiated for both parties are as follows. Like Matt Dillahunty gives the example of a large jar full of gumballs to illustrate the burden of proof. It is a fact of reality that the number of whole gumballs in the jar is either even or odd, but the degree of personal acceptance or rejection of claims about that characteristic may vary. We may choose to consider two claims about the situation, given as the number of gumballs is even, the number of gumballs is odd. These two claims can be considered independently, however, both claims represent the same proposition. Odd, in this case, means not even, and could be described as a negative claim. before we have any information about the number of gumballs, we have no means of checking either of the two claims. When we have no evidence to resolve the proposition, we may suspend judgment. From a cognitive sense, when no personal preference toward opposing claims exists, one may be either skeptical of both claims or ambivalent of both claims. If there is a claim proposed and that claim is disputed, the burden of proof falls onto the proponent of the claim. If there is no agreeable evidence to support a claim, the claim is considered to be an argument from ignorance. So the rules of the debate is each debater is given 10 minutes for her or his opening for or against the motion. Next, each debater will get 2 rounds of formal rebuttal, alternating, lasting 5 minutes each. The debate will conclude with 2 5-minute closing statements. Each speaker must submit to the moderator, that would be us, a list of sources and online links to any study or empirical assertion they make. These links will be posted in the description box of the debate, so the viewers may check them themselves. And speakers must specify which of their sources they are citing during the debate. Asserting a claim not sourced will be treated as an argument from ignorance as per Dillahunty. So those are the rules of the formal debate. And as I say, it will be a debate between Kristi and Sargon, with us, the Skeptic Feminist, moderating, and the actual proposition to be debated, it will be about feminism in some fashion or another, but the specifics are still being debated of what the proposition will be.
Thank you very much for that summary. And also, thank you for moderating and hosting. And the moderator's duties will be to host, will be to do the introductions, to keep people to time, to close out the debate, and typical moderator duties. So really appreciate you stepping up and doing that. So what I'd like to do is just go back a little bit more to the discussion in general. Well, here are the options. We can, while Russian Deadpool is here, we can actually have a discussion about the concept of the regressive left. And then we can always, because I know you want to participate in that, but then when we're done with that part, and we'll just be talking about like the concept of it, and not so much about like Sargon specifically, but I would rather have a discussion about how that word is used and where it is appropriate and where it's not appropriate. And then we can come back to the discussion about Sargon more generally, his appearance and his response after Russian Deadpool has left. Is everyone all right with that proposition? All right, cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in terms, I guess I'll kick it off. In terms of the term regressive left, I think it was Garrett actually, when I first sort of like heard him describe that, how it doesn't really make sense as a term if you think about it politically, because the left has generally been in favor of progress and liberty, and liberalism. It's always moving forward. And the idea of a regressive left would mean that you would have to go backwards in time or back to a status quo. And it doesn't really make sense to think about feminism that way, because feminism isn't trying to, as an ideology, take us back to before women could vote. And that was a good point. But then the last couple of weeks I saw on Secular Talk the coverage of a story about 2 gynecologists in the U.S. who wrote a recommendation that for the gynecological community, that perhaps in America, doctors should consider doing a nicking or some kind of cosmetic cutting to girls' genitals in order to let people who have those traditions from their native countries practice them. One on the part of it being a liberal side of it is those are their traditions, but also on the other side of it is to not. Then if you make it criminal, it goes underground, and then it becomes like an illegal practice that goes on anyway, but outside of the purview of a doctor's medical oversight. And he said that this is an example of a policy that is regressive left, and I agree. I think this is an instance where we could say, well, here are people who are saying about being tolerant of other people's positions, tolerating something that's actually quite oppressive, very oppressive to girls, and it says something more broadly about their view of women and why they cut them and the cultural things associated with that. And so, yes, I think that in that instance, you could go, yeah, this idea is actually coming from the left, but it's taking us back, or it's defending a regressive point of view. And so I think that the concept itself is probably quite useful if we apply it accurately and we don't turn it into a name that you call people in order to dismiss their arguments. So that would be my opening gambit for this. And I guess, Russian Deadpool, since you have to leave early, I'm going to call on you first if you want to respond to that and add your own comments.
I appreciate that. And I want to add that we really take our position as the moderators between the upcoming, or in the upcoming debate very seriously. So we truly do want to strive to be skeptical of both sides to the extreme and withhold judgments as much as possible. So I appreciate you guys holding off on giving your opinions about Sargon. We don't want to be giving just opinions. We'd rather stick with just pure facts. So and I think it's a very good point that you brought up in terms of an example of a regressive left policy. We, I think, in the Skeptic Feminists kind of differ from the rest of the people here in that we find it to be a very valid term, and I mean it sounded like Kristi does as well, to a degree. So the defense of oppressive traditions are a regressive position, and that was just a perfect example. So one thing that we hear is that like this is a problem with feminism, and we don't agree with that. The regressive is not a feminist problem; it's a liberal problem at large. So it's something that is kind of endemic to Western liberalism, is what it seems like. And I would like to clarify. I would like to give like an actual definition of what the regressive left is. And there is no better place to kind of paraphrase than from the person who coined it, who is Maajid Nawaz, and he's a liberal Muslim, and so he has to say on the regressive left is that it's a section within the left, now not all of those on the left, who have come to the view that for the sake of political correctness, for the sake of tolerating what they believe is other cultures, they have an inherent hesitation to challenge some of the bigotry that can occur within minority communities, minorities for the West. This is a blatantly illiberal position because it abandons the individuals within those communities and allows the patriarchs of those communities to speak on everybody else's behalf. So the minorities within the minorities are abandoned by the liberals who should stand with them, and usually it is religiously patriarchal communities that we're speaking about. So the homosexuals, the women, the liberals, and the atheists, they are left without support in the West, and so it is what he calls the racism of low expectations, because it's not holding those communities up to the universal human rights standards that we hold everyone else up to. So they are, if we truly believe in universal human rights, these rights not only protect those communities, but should also apply to them. And that is basically his definition and also stance on the regressive left.
So I asked if anyone wanted to go next, but nobody typed anything, so I'm going to throw it open. Whoever gets in, gets in.
Hello.
Oh, no. Okay.
Hello.
No.
I was just going to say, actually, I agree that it can be a very as outlined by Russian Deadpool. I think that's actually true, but I think often it's not used in that way necessarily. Often I think it refers. There's a strange strain of free speech humping that these people have engaged in, where post political correctness, a lot of people, and I'm not mentioning Russian Deadpool, I'm talking about people like Sargon of Akkad and the kind of anti-feminists, where because they know that their incredibly regressive or bigoted ideas aren't really allowed in polite company in large parts of Western society now, because their ideas are on the fringe, that they need the protections of free speech in a way that the left would have done in generations past, or more progressive ideas would have done in generations past. And so they're now saying regressive in the sense that if you try not to silence them, but just to curb the more disgusting parts of their more extreme edges, they'll say, "Oh, you're going against free speech," blah blah blah, even though they don't actually really give a fuck about free speech. If the tables were turned, and as indeed they've shown when they have the power to do so, they're more than happy to silence or shout down others.
Thanks for that. Now I've got Tim is up, and then the Russian Deadpool has a point to add on to Kevin's argument.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was going to say, I guess in that sense, regressive left sounds useful, but it sounds very, very limited, because the definition that Russian Deadpool read said a hesitation to criticize these practices, and a lot of the people I've talked to are like, "Why do you support people throwing homosexuals off buildings?" and like, "Why do you support people killing women?" and "Why do you support Saudi Arabia doing this?" And I'm like, I don't support any of that shit. That stuff is terrible, and I don't even have a hesitation to criticize that. I think maybe it's a matter of focus. Like, sometimes I don't focus on those issues. That doesn't mean that if you don't ask me about it, I'm not going to say that's fucking horrible and I don't like it and I don't agree with it. But if you don't just do exactly what they want you to do all the time, you're a regressive. That's the way it seems to work to me. And also, the definition has expanded to a massive degree, because I saw a lot of the reaction to the Michael Brooks interview, and they were like, Michael Brooks keeps cutting off Sargon, and he keeps interrupting him, and he keeps talking over him, and that's a regressive tactic. And I was like, are you serious? Interrupting people is now regressive? It's like, holy shit. I mean, so whenever you watch a debate between any people and one person interrupts, you can be like, regressive. He's a regressive. He's interrupting. It's like being rude is regressive now. So I just think it's slowly expanding to just mean person I don't like, person who has a different opinion than me, who says things in a way that I don't like, or somebody who uses scummy tactics, because only regressive leftists could possibly use scummy tactics. Nobody else would do that. So I think the problem is just with specific. I can't say this word. Specificity. Yeah, it's become really nebulous. It's really broad now. Now, the internet dilutes these things to a ridiculous degree to be almost meaningless. But if you want to put it in that very narrow way, it could have some use in some contexts.
Yeah,
that's my take.
Phrases like SJW and PC warrior and all these ridiculous phrases, to the point where they start eating themselves, where these incredibly right-wing people, like Sargon, has been called an SJW by people even further to the right than he is. It's ridiculous, and it becomes utterly meaningless, basically.
How is he an SJW? What did he do? Did he interrupt someone?
I don't think he hated on the niggers enough for some people. Apparently that wasn't a big thing for him. Whatever.
Alright, we'll bleep that out later.
Well, in terms of the, I'm going to use my chair's discretion here, and then we're going to go back to Russian Deadpool, who wanted to build on Kevin's point. And then, Michael, if you want to get in, or if you're okay sitting, otherwise you have to type. The conflation between assessing a policy as, yeah, this is regressive and it's coming from the left, is very different from labeling, oh, I see from what you're saying now, you're a regressive leftist. The same way it's differentiating between feminism as an ideology and feminists are people who take up different elements of that ideology or have different perspectives on it, and saying, because I don't like what these feminists are doing, I therefore can hate feminism. Or saying, because I don't like this leftist, regressive leftist idea, therefore I can dismiss all people on the left as regressive, or people I don't like as regressive left. This is, I think, the main problem, and Tim's point about it has to be used very narrowly, because the definition is given is quite reasonable. The definition, the term as being applied, I don't see that reasonableness in it. So that was my intervening as a chair, and Russian Deadpool, it's to you now.
Yeah, well, I'd like to take it in reverse order, because Tim/Demotivator has said a few things that I want to respond to as well. I agree absolutely that it's being used, as a lot of terms are, in an ad hominem /strawman-y kind of way, and that's not doing the term or the people using it any favors. In the sparsest possible definition, I would say it's basically liberals who act illiberally, who fail to support as Majid would say, the minorities within the minorities. That would be just the shortest definition that I could give. And I think it's a very useful and valid one because it's something that I see quite often. At the same time, I agree that it is used flippantly, and it's making people question its value and kind of, well, it devalues it. But as far as what Kevin said, I just wanted to add this in. Sargon says that he's not an anti-feminist, which I just wanted to add that in for the sake of impartiality, because we also let me finish. We also criticize feminism, and I think everybody here does to some degree, aspects of it or people within it, and that doesn't necessarily make us that doesn't at all make us anti-feminists. It just makes us good feminists. So he would probably class himself, I think, as a non-feminist.
For the
That's
record.
all I have.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Any more on the concept of the regressive left? I think what it sounds like is that none of us here dismiss it entirely as a word or a concept, and in fact, in some ways, it might help in a lot of ways to really separate out things that are, regressive and ask questions why it's tolerated and do a little soul searching as to why we would allow, for instance, to say, oh yeah, well, we'll just allow this little cutting off part of the hood of the clitoris, and even though it's a child who can't give consent and it's her body and she has no say in this, it's a cultural practice and therefore we should, and I think so. If there are times when it's appropriate to use it, it actually, as Russian Deadpool was pointing out, it loses its value when you just throw it around casually, because it should be a very self-critical comment, but as it sounds like it's being used, people are just dismissing someone who criticizes you as regressive left because everything you say, sometimes it feels like, is regressive left.
Basically, it seems to me like an actual proper usage of it would be about people who are possibly mostly well-meaning, but are essentially aligning themselves with awful human beings or awful practices by people, rather than the way it's used, which is essentially, as I think it was Dean Motivator said, I don't like this person, therefore they're regressive, and it's just a slur thrown around like SJW was. But basically, just because that became meaningless, they've come up with another one, and that'll become meaningless, and they'll come up with another one and another one. It's ridiculous.
I think
Sorry.
Go ahead, Tim. No, sorry, go ahead. You go.
I have a question that I might just be able to throw to the floor. Like, why don't we have regressive right? Considering that the right does a lot of stuff which is regressive, like it's literally regressive. Like,
well, that's just their default position, isn't it? Like they're conservative. They care about tradition and preserving traditions. So when liberals go out of their way to like protect the traditions of these anti-woman cultures, anti-woman traditions of those cultures, then they're actually being very conservative,
But do you think that means we don't need to add an extra word like regressive right? We can just say conservative, and then we already know what we're talking about.
That's sort of like the base element of what a conservative is.
Yeah,
I think
it's like saying it's like saying wet water. Of course, it's wet. It's fucking water. That's what it is.
But that shows me how regressive is redundant, because I think if it's really self-evident that a lot of liberals are doing this, you don't need an extra word. You'll just come to understand that a lot of people on the left are like that. You don't need the extra pejorative.
I think I would actually disagree a little bit, because I think to conserve means to preserve, but it doesn't necessarily mean to take you back. So it's kind of one thing to say, we want to conserve our family traditions. It's another thing to say, sweetie, you're going to have to quit your job because we're going back to the 1950s and you're going to be a housewife.
Yeah, so, okay, that's the literal kind of old school, what the word conserve means. But language progresses to the point where can you say any conservative movements in the West aren't actually regressive? They don't want society to stand still. They do want society to go back to this mythical golden age. I can't think of a single conservative movement that isn't exactly like that.
Theoretically, we could use regressive to describe the right then. So it seems kind of arbitrary that we've just tacked it onto the left now, considering that there's a lot of regressivism in the right too. So
Yeah, but
you know?
they identify as the left. They identify as progressive, and yet they're being regressive in their support of traditions that are anti-human rights.
But I
So
think you
word
could.
game,
merits a different word.
Yeah, and can I
kind of a
just
word game.
chime in on a matter of practicality or whatever? This idea that if we don't allow people to nick the hoods of young fucking children's genitals, for Christ's sake, that it'll go underground. Well, I'm sorry, we can't make laws on the basis that people might break them. It's disgusting. It should be illegal, and it must remain illegal.
Yeah. That's,
Also, we haven't heard from Michael in a while. He's just in the shadows there.
It's like saying, well,
You might not wanna-
we should allow people to murder some people, because, you know, if we make it illegal, we'll have to...
It's going to happen anyway. It's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous, yeah.
I think that it is useful to, there are, let's say, Republicans in the U.S. who are in favor of marriage equality because they think that they're conserving a principle of liberty inherent in the Constitution. They would set themselves against the kind of people like the Tony Perkins and the Family Council that actually want to roll those laws back. Ted Cruz wants to roll those laws back. So I think it is a useful distinction. I mean, it might not be greatly accurate because conserve and regress, they're a little kind of, maybe what they are is intensity or the goal of it in terms of, how far back are we actually going backwards in our values, or are we conserving something that is relevant to today?
If there are those kind of conservatives, at least in those instances, then they should be, maybe we should have a word for them that's like a progressive conservative or something.
Yeah, this is a problem of language, but then it's not only a deficiency in language, but people have to use the right language.
You can bring in the idea that if we don't accept that there was such a thing as the golden age that these people might want to go back to, does that inherently, because they want to create a society that has never existed, does that make them progressive?
Ooh, I feel like we're now getting into a pub time after a first lecture in political theory.
Yeah, exactly. Like stoned conversations about what about if society was made of cheese? Whoa.
That's pretty regressive.
That would be regressive, absolutely.
Going back to when society was made of cheese.
Henry VIII was made out of Stilton. Not a lot of people know that.
So, in terms of the overuse of the word, or being devalued with just frivolous use, I think something that I keep hearing from people like Sargon is that the accusation of racism is something that is tossed around to a point where it is losing its value as well. So that could be like I don't know if you guys agree, but it's I guess it could be argued to be analogous in that sense.
Yeah. I think that is true. I think racism is thrown about too much, but Sargon also believes that Donald Trump isn't a racist. I don't know if we should necessarily take his standard of overuse too seriously.
Hey, I see Michael putting his hand up. Would you like to come in?
I just kind of thought, do you think it's maybe like a no, I'm not, I know you are, but what am I kind of dealy? The fact that, it's obvious that these guys are regressive or that they're being racist or whatever. So they just turn around and say, well, no, it's like the whole reverse racism thing, going, well, yeah, I'm being racist, but you're totally being racist by saying that blacks should have a friggin', Black History Month. It seems like a defense mechanism.
Yeah. Actually, I had this with some of my interactions on my Ghostbusters video, and people made the very good point. When it was an all-male cast, no one gave a shit. The fact that it's an all-female cast, all of a sudden, whoa, it's crazy. We can't allow all of the people to vote, otherwise, they're going to elect black people and women and things, and that we can't have that. It's silly.
Well, this is off topic from the Hangout, but I was wondering, Kevin, do you think that will be a good film? That's what I want to know.
I have no idea, to be honest. It didn't look great from the trailer, but the point wasn't defending the film. Yeah. But it's the fact that you knew those people were going to have those reactions regardless. It could have been the greatest trailer in the history of mankind, and they've still have said, "Oh, this is shit. Oh, this is terrible. You're fucking my childhood." No, you're not.
But in fact,
the original film's still there. It's not destroying your childhood at all. It's just you're an old fuck. Deal with it.
I actually saw it a slightly different way. I was like, So the original film is like three white dudes and a black dude, and now they're just getting three white women and a black woman. It seems a little bit cynical of Hollywood. They're like, oh, we'll just take them and replace them with women.
Yeah, it's phenomenally cynical. It's absolutely a money grab piece of fucking shit. It's essentially the film version of clickbait. It's awful. But I have no idea whether the film itself will be any good. And I sort of don't care.
About the
if it wasn't for all this hubbub,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't even go and watch the fucking thing. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's not because, to me, it's not because they're women. It's because it's like Hollywood has made this marketing decision, which is like, and it kind of like all the anti-feminists are kind of buying into it because they're like, oh, we're going to flip out now.
The point that was made actually was it is a little bit racist because the black woman is so obviously a stereotype of like the ghetto. Oh no, you did not! That kind of ridiculously over the top black character
from my cousin. Let's all get in, woo! And you're like, oh god.
Exactly, it's ridiculous, but there you go.
On the other side, you have shows like Jessica Jones. So we know that female-led casts can produce phenomenal entertainment. But getting back to the idea of, people on the right feeling like they're being called racist or sexist at a drop of a hat. Well, then I think that, that's a conversation that then they should also recognize that when you say regressive left, that's, it is the equivalent. So maybe, choose to use those terms more sparsely and where they actually have more impact than just as a throwaway comment. Because again, you're devaluing the term and what it means, and it could actually be a really interesting critique that could open up some really deep questions about how our values compete against each other, and things like respect and tolerance, but also human rights. And that, to me, seems like a better conversation starter rather than shutting conversations down. So the question that I want to set up next is what would have the discussion been like, do you think, between Sargon and Michael Brooks, had they actually had our working definition? How much would it have changed? So Russian Deadpool, I don't know how much longer you want to stick around, because when you start to feel like the conversation is getting, I don't want you to feel awkward, but I'll let you make that decision on your own, so you can interrupt if you want to leave. But any thoughts on if Sargon had actually come up with that definition? How would the conversation have been different?
Well, they wouldn't have been able to, call names.
Yeah, sorry, this is where it breaks down. So, Michael, did you want to?
Sorry, my bad.
No,
I just wanted to say he wouldn't have been able to just use it as a name calling tactic for most of the time, because there was like 4 or 5 different instances where he was like, "See that what you just did there? That's why you're aggressive. Oh, that thing you did there? Yeah, you're aggressive because of that." He wouldn't have been able to do that because he would have had a proper definition of the friggin' thing,
That's a really good point. Russian Deadpool, did you want to?
Yeah, he was just using it as like no judgment against Sargon as a person, of course, from our camp, but he was using regressive left as just a pejorative without actually giving it any solid foundation, any definition, and that was the main problem. The second problem, just tactically speaking, was he kept asking questions of Brooks after Brooks got done monologuing for like 15 fucking minutes, and then so he never really got to speak, not necessarily because Brooks kept interrupting him, which he did sometimes, but really because Sargon kept asking a question. He was trying to find like common ground, I think, maybe, and Brooks was just using that as an opportunity to keep hammering home the point that Sargon still hadn't defined what the hell regressive left is, which hopefully I did during the course of this conversation, or, yeah.
Yeah, actually that annoyed me, but both of them were interrupting one another, and that's all sort of why I think the debate would be best between Kristi and Sargon, so you don't have that opportunity to just fucking interrupt one another, because it's just too tempting to just scream. But the point about the definition, to take it back to our analogy of him using the same sorts of tactics, and I know this isn't going to be endorsed by the Skeptic Feminists for obvious unbiased reasons, but the connection we made between his tactics and those of the creationists was that much in the same way that when discussing Noah's Ark, they start talking about kinds of animals. Then you ask them for a definition of what a kind means, and they're constantly evasive, because once you give them if they ever did give an actual definition, then you'd be able to say, well, actually, no, we've seen kinds turn into different kinds. Because then you'd have to be a species or a family or whatever particular taxonomic band you would have. And so essentially, once Sargon ever came up with like an actual firm idea of what a regressive is, all of a sudden you could say, well, you're a regressive because you believe X, Y, Z, or this person that you happen to like, who you've said is brilliant, is also a regressive because they fit into these categories as well. And so essentially, it would lose its power for him as a stick with which to beat people, because all of a sudden you'd be able to turn it back on him.
Tim, I see you nodding your head. This is me being a focus group moderator. This is how I run focus groups. Tim, I see you nodding your head.
We're not your fucking guinea pigs, Winters.
I was just thinking about something else. I was just like, oh yeah. No, I was listening to Kevin. And no, like the weird thing is, like, I've read the book Islam and the Future of Tolerance with Sam Harris and Majid Nawaz. And in that book, Majid Nawaz basically puts forward the idea that they need to reinterpret or interpret the Quran and the Hadith, etc., in a more moderate way and encourage other Muslims to see it in a more moderate way. And that is like how we're going to step forward and reduce radicalism. And by the end of the book, I was like, wow, Majid is pretty much a regressive. And he came up with the term regressive. If they didn't like the guy, if he was just like some other Muslim who they just sort of disagree with, and they're like, we don't really like that Muslim over there, which they often do. They're like, that's a bad Muslim, that's a good Muslim. They would totally call him regressive. So I was like, for some reason, it's like if they like you, if they tolerate you, if they think you're okay, you're not a regressive, you know. But he makes very quote unquote regressive arguments based on my gut feeling of what it's supposed to mean, which is somebody who makes excuses for Islam by like sort of putting it in context, saying that there's different ways to interpret various parts of the Quran, etc. So I find it very ironic that the guy who came up with it is a regressive. He's waving.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm going to use Chair's prerogative, though, and say that, just building on Kevin's point, I mean, what Sargon was doing in the course of the debate was, as you guys have said, when somebody would name someone like Ezra Klein, oh, he's a part of the regressive left, or Salon.com, that's part of the regressive left, without having that clear definition like the one that Russian Deadpool provided. Kevin's point is exactly right. It's like talking to a creationist and they go, okay, well, what's a kind? Like, well, okay, like, so there's like a wolf kind and dogs came out of that, and there's like a cat kind, so if you point it to me, I can tell you what kind it is. Like, no, you need to give me the definition first, not tell me by example. Because examples, a series of examples, isn't a definition. And it seemed to me that in the course of the conversation, that's all Sargon really had, was a series of human people or views, and he didn't have a definition of what it made it over that criteria. Yeah. And that's exactly what creationists do with kinds. So, Kevin.
Well, just quickly before Kevin gets in there, I think to Sargon it was supposed to be self-evident to everyone involved what regressive left is. So when he said, what you said sounds like what a regressive would say, he expected Michael to just be like, oh, right, I get it, you know. But instead he's like, no, what the fuck is that? And that's the problem, is Sargon was going off this assumption that everybody at this point in life understands what the fuck that is, and it's not the case.
But that's fucking stupid because he kept asking. Yeah, me, bitch. No, he kept asking. The fact that like he just was ignoring Michael's request for a definition. I mean, he could say that, you know, he thinks that other people should just know, but the fact that this guy was asking him again and again and again, and he keeps saying, yeah, I just gave you a definition.
It's because Sargon talks about it every single day, and if he talks about it every day, it means everyone knows what it is.
Oh, yeah, totally. I forgot that he's a fucking, you know, worldwide celebrity.
Well, there is. I mean, there's an element of a certain sort of echo chamber on that side of the debate, and not to say that there isn't necessarily in certain parts of feminism as well. But the point I was going to make before everyone fucking rudely interrupted me, apart from Russian Deadpool, thank you.
Go ahead.
Some people. Anyway, was
proceed.
With the elasticity of the term regressive. Basically, everyone. You can't imagine people so simplistically. Everyone has a certain, if you wanted to ascribe the word regressive to them, some attitudes that are regressive. There are some parts of tradition that every individual person might particularly like, or they might know something about some historical period where things were done a certain way that they might want to go back to. So you could essentially assign the phrase regressive to anybody if you really wanted to, if you wanted to make it stretch to fit. And that's essentially what Sargon does. He allows so much elasticity within that phrase that basically anyone that has an idea that rubs him the wrong way, he can just go, well, you're a regressive, and it stops the conversation. He's just dismissing.
It's completely pointless. It's just a completely pointless thing.
Well, he's
it's just like
You're basically saying we don't need to listen to this person about anything because they're a regressive.
Mm-hmm.
It's strawmanning.
Glenn Greenwald. He's
The
disgusting.
New York Times. Blah,
I didn't know
New York
you were so
Times.
anti-Semitic, Demo.
Ceylon.
Yeah,
What's
one of the
that?
things. Now that you brought up the New York Times, that reminds me. One of the so in that on the version
What
that's.
Kevin just said.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You made a disgusting joke. I don't know. I didn't hear what he said. Keep going, Kristi.
I said I didn't know you were that anti-Semitic. Never mind. It was a joke.
Oh, you don't
Just a
know
silly
me.
joke.
You don't know me well enough. You don't know me. I'm pretty fucking. Oh, okay, go ahead.
We cut you off before you can get any farther down the rabbit hole there. So
Hey, I have Jewish friends. I can't be anti-Semitic. No.
I'm 1/8. I am 1/8 Jewish. It's true. My great grandfather escaped from Poland.
I was about to do a joke about you've worked out like an accountant, but that would be anti-Semitic as well. I think. I'm not sure.
Jeez, we gotta get off this.
yeah. So going back to the topic. One of the things, so in the Sam Cedar channel version of it, I watched it, and I annotate my own videos where I watch them and I do the timestamps and do little topic headers if that's a really, sometimes I'll do that. And I did that with the comments on Sargon's various attempts to put forward a view. And one of the things that really annoyed me was, well, two things actually that really annoyed me, was one, he quoted a headline from Salon.com and asked Michael Brooks to react to it, not citing the study, not reading out the number of people that took place or what the control and experimental variables were and what the statistical significance of the differences were. He just read out a headline and said, what do you think of this? And then he did it, and that's just like piss poor social science, because I want to know, was this done with undergraduates? Was it done with a cross-section of the population? How many people took part? What was the size of the difference between the two groups? How do you determine the findings? And he did the same thing where he made a claim that we know who the Muslims are that think a certain way about certain things. And as somebody who, well, I work in a data archive along with cross-national studies. And I can tell you that trying to get response rates up and accurate responses outside of the West is much more difficult for a lot of reasons, doing also with like rural areas and people getting out there. There are cultural issues, even in certain Muslim communities in the UK and around Europe, where you can't just have a guy go and knock on doors in a Muslim neighborhood and have a woman answer and interview her. There are cultural sensitivities there that if you want the data from a woman in a Muslim household that's very traditional, practicing in that way, then you need a female person and you need a female interviewer and they have to know the language, and there's a lot of, so this idea that you can just say, oh yeah, we have all this survey data, we know what Muslims think, is ridiculous. So I want to know, I think Bruce in his video thought it might have been some Pew data. But is it representative of men and women's views? Was it collected in person, by telephone? Was it done on social media? That's a completely different subsample of the population than people who don't have access to mobile phones. So just from making a series of empirical assertions, I was not at all impressed with his familiarity with the studies that he was trying to get somebody who had not read those pieces of information to comment on, when he himself apparently had read it, I presume, and knew what the information was, but didn't convey that as part of his argument. And that, for me, was a big, not impressed. Not impressed. So, who is, you guys, while I'm talking, you're all commenting in the comments, you assholes. Okay, so who's up next? Kevin, I think.
Well, no, I just got to duck out.
Okay.
My next training session's coming up, so I got to go.
Thank you so much for stopping by, giving us the update and your thoughts.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun, guys, and lady.
Yes, thank you. All right, great chat. Thank you.
I like to do ladies things, like pound my nose.
Anyway, now that Russian Deadpool's gone, can we just dig into Sargon?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The thing that really annoyed me, right? Because I wasn't going to watch his thing, like the actual response he did to our original Hangout. And because I thought it was going to be played here, but then the thing with the fucking Sam Cedar radio shit thing happened, and then all of a sudden we weren't going to watch it. So today I got around to watching his response to us. And I thought to myself, first off, he hasn't watched the whole fucking thing, clearly, because he says, oh, there's only 3 of them in the chat. Where it's actually, no, halfway through a fourth person jumped in for. So he didn't even watch the whole fucking thing. And that's fine, by the way. I'm not expecting him to watch it. It was like 2 hours long. But you can't do a reply to something you haven't fucking seen. That's ridiculous.
Well,
He
Garrett
does it all
entered
the time, absolutely everything, all the time. Whenever he's putting up any examples, like Kristi said, he just reads the headline, or he'll watch the first part of a video that confirms his thing, and then chop that out and put it there and be like, look, that's fucking exactly what I'm talking about.
Tim's up next.
Oh my god.
Oh, just the Hangout.
Tim's up next, Kevin.
He doesn't need.
Kevin, Tim is up next.
What? What the fuck? What the?
I'm only going to say a very short thing, and then you guys can do your thing. It was 2 hours long, and Garrett entered around the 13 to 15 minute mark, and Sargon didn't even get up to Garrett entering. So that's how much he watched.
Yeah, so that was like these
15
20 minutes. Yeah. And you can tell also just by what he decides to cover. And, you know, as I said in that video, we cover like somewhere around 15. I have the full list. I can read out all of the we cover. Hello, Rory Cats.
Hello.
Does he have anything to contribution?
Hello.
Besides, he wants chicken.
Put him down, I think. There we go.
I think he just wants some chicken.
He always wants chicken.
Oh, well, can I actually show you guys? In some ways, we can demonstrate how Sargon, his behavior, his fans model it. I can show you the data from the day before he released his video and how many people were watching, the length of video, and then what it was like after he put out his video and all his fans came over. Anyone interested?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I'll set that up in the background. You guys have a quick chat.
If I can be allowed to, am I allowed to talk now?
Yes, it's your turn. It's your turn.
Shut up.
Anyway,
Be quiet. My turn.
as we pointed out in the original Hangout, was that he doesn't even read the whole headline. Sometimes he just reads the first bit of the headline and just goes, "Well, is this correct?" You know, and it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. But you know, apparently we're the green cards. Apparently in this,
there was one video that he brings up. There's one video that he brings up in his patriarchy series where he's trying to find a definition of patriarchy from a feminist who defines patriarchy, and he watches the first little bit where this woman gives an anecdote about her life, and then she says at the end of it, patriarchy, and then he goes, so patriarchy is this, that, you know, like something loosely based on the things that she says, and if you actually watch like 2 minutes after that section, she literally gives a finite definition of patriarchy, but he completely ignores that. That's, you know, she's just confused because of all that other stuff. He doesn't even bother. Oh, it's so frustrating.
All right, so I've got the screen here ready to go, and we get over and do. Can you see everything all right?
What is this?
What is this magic? So these are my stats from my channel, and what you're looking at here is from where it got released and the average number of minutes watched and the view duration, and then you can see that there's that it came out, some people were watching it, then it went up, and then suddenly it really crashed down. So this is from the 26th of February. This was before Sargon released his video. And as you can see here, the average view duration, we've got from the US 188 views and over almost 25 minutes. From the UK, 79 views, 28 minutes. Canada, 24 minutes, 15 minutes, 39 minutes, and so on down the line. Right?
Wow, you've got 3 very dedicated Irish fans there.
Yes.
I watched a fucking hour of it at least. Good God.
So Sargon's video came out on the 27th. Sorry, that slide was a bit crooked. So then on the 20th. Yeah. So here on the 27th, you can see that it dropped down to what is this? 2 minutes and 34 seconds.
Fuck you, Portugal. Fuck you. 16, you cheeky cunts. What the
UK
fuck?
stayed for 4 minutes.
Poland.
Sorry.
Nothing, yes. And so these are the other statistics. So this was the day before, the 26th, and this is pretty typical for my sex distribution. It's about anywhere, it runs from about 20 to 24% to 20% female.
I'm going to guess the next slide is a sausage fest.
Sorry. Oh, no, where'd it go? There it is. Yeah, 94% male on the day. Yeah.
Lol.
Well, I mean, this Hangout is 75% male, so that's like...
Very typical of my audience. Yeah.
Good parody there.
And then, sadly, okay, so this is the relative audience retention. For those of you who have a YouTube channel, you'll know that this it assesses your video against other videos relative to how long they are. So this was the day before.
Attention span
Yeah.
measure.
Yes. So this was today before Sargon's video came out, and then this was after, down to below average down there, and then once you clear out all the people who leave right away, it goes back up. So yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's not just that he doesn't read these things; it's that his viewers also end up not engaging with the content at all either. Yeah, Michael, go ahead.
I just thought I mentioned last night also about the how interesting it was that so Sargon, Michael Brooks on is it Sam Cedar's channel, whatever it was, the video
called Majority Report.
Yeah. So there's the video on that channel, which is the conversation, and it's got like 6,000 dislikes kind of deal. So just like woo, all the dislikes. But then you go to Sargon's channel, and it's the same thing, but recorded from Sargon's perspective, and it's got all the likes, everything's great, no worries, but it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, and it's quite common in the comments of that video. I get two typical comments from people who come over from Sargon's channel, which is, these people are all too dumb, so some sort of personal attack ad hominem. Or, look at how unpopular your video is, you should take it down. So an argument from unpopular.
That is the stupidest fucking argument.
Did Sargon? So I was just gonna. Did Sargon take down his response to our thing? It just came into my head now because I couldn't find it on his channel.
Kevin, you just watched it today, right?
I watched it about 3 or 4 hours ago. So I think it's still there.
Okay. I was just looking for it yesterday.
I'll look for it and link it to it if I can find him.
It's probably because I'm dumb and stupid and I'm a feminist, so I can't find things on Google. Anyway, continue.
Well, SJWs have a struggle with typing, don't they? So.
Yeah, my brain is.
But basically, what I've taken from those statistics are fuck Portugal.
On the downvoting thing, that reminds me of, like, if you guys know the Young Turks or whatever. They made a video about, like, the Cologne situation, and it received, like, fucking 12,000 downvotes or something. It was an insane number of downvotes, like, way over the top. And I watched the video, and they mentioned, like, you know, they're coming from a theocratic place with a very conservative culture, and they may have brought that with them, and, you know, it's partly to do with Islam, etc., in the Quran, yada yada. But then they expanded from there, and they said, but what about, like, crimes that, you know, regular people in Germany commit, like the rape culture there and all this kind of stuff. And that's when it went off the rails into, like, massive downvoting territory. And I put a positive comment, and then I just got dogpiled to the extreme. It's like hundreds of fucking people saying, like, you're wrong, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you love fucking theocracy, you're evil, you're, you know, a piece of shit, you've got white guilt. It was just madness. And somebody said, like, doesn't this give you pause that so many people are against you and there's so many downvotes? And I said, fuck no, it just makes me think a lot of people are really fucking dense and they don't think about things. They just reactively downvote or say, I don't like it, downvote, oh, I hate all these people, you know. No, it doesn't.
Hence the like, 2-minute fucking watch time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there could have been 1 trillion downvotes on that. It wouldn't make a fucking difference to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, wow, there's so many dumb people. It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, my first ever video I did to Sargon, it got, you know, a relatively decent response from people, and then he did a response to it with a link below, and then all of a sudden I think it's got about 6,000 dislikes, which is more than my average views per video, right? It's a huge number. People kept going on, well, this clearly shows you're absolutely full of shit. No, it doesn't. It means a massive YouTuber linked to, under one of their videos, my video, and when, you know, well, he didn't say go and downvote it, but, you know,
do you think he does that? Do you think he's got like a private channel where he can, or is it just like a reflexive thing that all his fans do? They immediately.
Oh no, it's a reflexive thing. Yeah, you don't have to say go and do any. But also, I mean, to be fair, right, if you're going to do a response video, it's courteous to link to the thing, and in doing so, you're going to lead them there. And I don't mind. I mean, the ad revenue was nice. It's not going to buy me a fucking mansion, but it was cool. But with the Ghostbusters thing, doing some of the research for that, they're all saying, the official, I think Warner Brothers or whoever the fuck owns it, put out the trailer on their website, and they were saying, oh, they're taking down negative comments. Yeah, because you're leaving comments saying, I hope all the actresses die or get AIDS or some shit. Yeah, they're taking those down. What a fucking surprise. And there's only dislikes and only 50,000 thumbs up. Yeah, because loads of cunts went there and fucking down-thumbed it regardless. So
Well,
what? What does that prove?
They shouldn't take that up with Warner Bros. They should take it up with YouTube for providing the option to delete comments. You know, it's YouTube's fault. It's not Warner Bros. Fault. That's within their power.
It is Warner Bros. Fault in the sense that they don't want their product tarnished by dickbaggery like that, and that's absolutely their prerogative.
I'm just saying YouTube provides them with the ability to delete comments, and so
True,
you should be
but,
writing an angry letter to YouTube saying, "Hey, take away any option to delete comments, you bastards."
Yeah, but that's not true, because everyone deletes comments from time to time.
No, but I think he's just
Like
saying,
whenever-
they're getting mad
I'm just
at
saying
people.
I'm just saying YouTube provides the function, so you should be writing a
True,
letter
but
to
you've
YouTube.
got to even if you don't want to do it for reasons of like decency or taste or whatever, you've got to have like a mechanism to get rid of spam or whatever, you know.
Right, but I guess these guys don't want any filter on anything ever.
Well, it always be
that's actually
deleted.
going back to the point I was making earlier about their false humping of freedom of speech, because they now need the protection of freedom of speech, whereas before the era of political correctness, they didn't, because their views were sort of mainstream. Whereas now they know being hateful dickheads will get them censored in certain places, like workplaces or whatever, because people don't want their employees going around making racist, sexist, homophobic remarks, ideally. So now it's them that are kind of hiding behind it's free speech. No, it's not free speech. You're a hateful dick, and people are calling you a hateful dick. YouTube don't owe you a platform, so shut up.
Michael, what do you have to say?
I had a musing about free speech. Not amusing, but using. You know when people complain about the taking away of free speech, and I'm thinking specifically of on Twitter. First of all, there was the Milo Yiannopoulos thing where he got his little,
Just
blue thing
free
taken
Milo.
away. Yeah, and everyone was like, they're trying to censor him. There's, taking away free speech. And then there's the Safety Council thing, whatever the fuck it is, that's going to go through and get rid of abusive comments or whatever. Is it denying people free speech to have some rules on your platform for the sort of conduct that people can? I mean, like, for example, you've got like We Hunted the Mammoth, where he filters his comments. There's no like abuse or name calling or any sort of bullshit that's allowed in any of his comments. He filters them so that only like nice comments are allowed through.
Well, it's his website, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Literally, in the literal sense of freedom of speech, it's got nothing to do with Twitter. Literally nothing to do with it. That's Twitter saying we don't want your shit. They don't owe you a fucking Twitter account. And
also, it's ironic how they're like, conservatives. I'm just going off on a slight tangent. Are like, we don't want to serve cakes to like gay couples, for example. That is kind of like censoring free speech, because like I forgot the name of the law, but like the free trading law or whatever it is. I forgot what it's called. Do you know, Kristi?
Are you talking about like the interstate commerce kind of thing?
Just how when you have a public business, you have to serve the public.
The gay cake law.
Can't deny.
Yeah, no, it is. It's the notion of like the marketplace. You can't discriminate. When you're in the public marketplace, you have to then offer your services to the public.
Yeah, so some people want to like censor people who come to their business and be like, no, you can't do this, and then they turn around and complain about shit that's happening on like YouTube or Twitter, And it's like you just kind of like, oh my god, that's gonna make the worst pun. You want to have your cake and eat it too. Oh. Fucking hell.
That was bad.
I think the whole like denying people service because they're a minority is so stupid though, because it's like, well, you don't want people buying your stuff? What the fuck is wrong with you? Why does it matter what the hell?
Basically, I was just
sorry. Kevin,
I was just going to make the quick point that there's a slight difference between blanket saying I'm not going to serve any gay people and having a specific reason to say delete tweets or something like that, because that's discriminating for an actual fucking reason rather than just because someone happens to be gay or whatever.
Well, I'm saying Twitter provides you with that option and YouTube provides you with that option, but society doesn't really provide you with the option because
That's
true. It's a public space. In a sense, it's a public-private space. It's like a hybrid. Whereas I think a Twitter is essentially just like a private account, isn't it?
It's a private company that's allowing you to use its service. Yeah, so they get to set the rules.
Your Twitter feed or your Twitter account is like what you want to see, based on them providing you with those options. If they took away those options.
The analogy would be, it wouldn't be okay for Twitter to outright say we're not going to allow gay people to have accounts. Would be the direct analogy. You can't do that. Exactly. That would be fucked up. But
yes,
if for instance, well, what would be the equivalent? I don't know. The gay couple went into the cake shop and did a shit on the floor. That would be fine then to say we're not going to serve you. And that's essentially intellectually what these people are doing on Twitter. Is defecating everywhere and then going, "Oh, you're censoring me. All I'm doing is smearing the walls in shit." Like, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yeah, YouTube channel comments I kind of consider like your house, and if you let people smoke in your house, you let people smoke in your house. If you let people have a party in your house, that's fine. But if you don't want them to take their shoes off, it's your house. So your comment section is your place. It's not a public place where people are entitled to scream at you or write awful things. That's not what it is. They don't have an entitlement to do that.
That's why I go back to the original point. The problem they have is with Twitter and YouTube, and how they've decided to set up this system. So that's your big complaint. So don't give us shit. Give Twitter and YouTube shit. Write them angry letters and say we don't want any more blocking. We don't want any options to limit speech on these.
One of the examples that really.
We're going to wrap this bit up because we want to get back to Sargon.
Okay, just one quick one. A mutual friend of ours, Steve Shives, they've got this thing, #blocked by Steve. Now, Steve Shives is the person that will just say, look, if you're just going to be a dick with me, I'm just going to block you. I haven't got the fucking time. He's got a slightly different editorial policy.
Oh, but I've never even interacted with Steve. Why did he block me? Because I haven't even talked to him, ever.
Well, he looked at your face and went, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Fuck that face.
His name is Mike.
Let's just say we can all agree that Anita must be full of shit because she doesn't allow comments on her YouTube channels. So that's pretty much.
I forgot what I was going to put. The point I was going to make. Oh yeah, the idea that Steve should offer you the ability to just scream at him. No, how entitled are you? If Steve doesn't want to talk to you, that's fine. He's not your fucking state delegate or something. He's a private citizen. Leave him alone.
Oh, Steve didn't acknowledge me when I walked up to him in the street and said to him, "Hey, fucking feminist asshole, what the fuck's wrong with you?" He walked away from me. Why would he do that?
You're a douchebag.
Imagine screaming at someone in the street and then when they walk away, what? You don't want to engage in a conversation? I'm just trying to debate you, evil piece of shit.
Why are you denying me free speech?
You're censoring me by walking away, you cunt.
Bringing it back to something that is that tactic has nothing to do with Sargon, by the way. We'll just say that. Like in comments on that, and none of that was directed at Sargon. But I want to bring it back to him, since he's the theme of the show. Well, not he's the theme of the show, but the way that he makes arguments, or fails to make good arguments, perhaps is the better way of saying it. Is what the show is about, and responding to his cherry-picked selection of our response. But one of the things that Michael Brooks said near the end of his show that I thought was just absolutely dead on was when Sargon said, well, someone so-and-so said this, what do you think about that? He said, I'm not here to defend other people's views. And that was really, if you go back and you listen to it, that's really what Sargon was trying to get him to do at all times, is to, what do you think about this, and these people say this, and what do you think about it? And as if he was trying to put those views onto Michael Brooks, and it's true. It's not up to me to defend what some crazy person, not crazy, but so someone a Twitter, a Tumblr feminist who I don't even know if it's a real person or a Poe, to be honest, that I have to react to that information and then somehow defend it, or the assumption that I would be defending it. And that's, I think, another common tactic that we see that Sargon uses, and that's tied into this yes set way that he sets up a conversation. So if we think about, we overwatch Ray Comfort. He'll go out on the street and you're like, oh, have you ever stolen anything from the office? Oh, you're a thief. And have you ever had impure thoughts? Oh, you're adultery. You're sinning in this way. And because you said yes to these two things, now you have to say yes to Jesus. And there's a lot of that in Sargon's conversation where he's saying, oh, well, we both agree that there is an aggressive left. He's like, no, I didn't agree to that. In fact, I just don't know what you mean by that. And so this tactic, as again Kevin said, that there's a reason why I wanted I would agree to a formal debate but not a conversation is because Sargon does have a tendency to try to get you to look like he's making you agree with him, but what he's really doing is leading you down a garden path to a predetermined conclusion that he wants you to say yes to a bunch of things so that he can draw your conclusion for you. At least that's how I see it.
He does it like he did it in the Michael Brooks debate as well. He did this thing where he goes, you know, we can agree that the people that this mostly comes from the left, and then Michael says, well, I don't think that's the case. I think that like there's a lot of it coming from the right as well. He gave a bunch of examples and stuff, and then Sargon went, yeah, but you agree that it's coming from the left as well. You know, it's you know, it's so he completely. He's like, we both agree that it comes from the left, and I think it's worse than you think it is. He completely ignores the fact that Michael's saying it's basically an everyone thing, not just from the left. I had it might be kind of off topic, but I had an example because he talks about the Majit Nawaz and the person who called them a porch monkey. Now, last night I kind of I looked up who this person was. And because Sargon was giving it as an example of someone who was on the regressive left, and how this kind of rhetoric only comes from the left, and I was like, "What are you saying?" Because no, it doesn't. Have you looked at any feminist video comment section? Have you heard of Gamergate? Have you heard of Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn? The bullshit that those guys have gone through, like all the time, every single day for years. Because they dared to, you know, I mean, well, for Zoe, she dared to have a relationship with someone, apparently, and for Anita, she dared to criticize sexism in video games, and now there's all this, you know, they have to deal with this stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
the Zoe Quinn thing really annoyed me, because essentially that boils down to she's evil because she's an adult who had sex. Oh no!
Yeah.
But
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
the point
no, they
I
were like,
have
she
with Sargon. Excuse me, Timothy.
Kevin does have the floor. Kevin does have the floor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't fuck off for a coffee and then just stroll back
Here's
in
the
and take it
floor.
off.
You can have it right here. Here it is.
It's all mine.
Here it is.
Anyway, that wasn't. Yeah, the reason I say he's like a conservative or right wing or whatever, as opposed to that, is all he ever does is attack the left. And even when it's pointed out to him, oh well, the people on the right do the same thing, so clearly it's not a left-right issue or whatever. He'll just totally ignore that and just continue to attack the left. He's basically like Fox News in denial. Like, at least Fox News doesn't really even pretend to be fair and balanced. I mean, you know, it says fair and balanced, but they don't really pretend to be. Whereas he genuinely, I think, believes in his head he's not being biased, even though he's exactly the same fucking thing.
Yeah, before Tim responds, I just wanted to point out, I noticed the other day before Donald Trump dropped out of the conservative CPAC conference that there were a lot of conservatives who didn't want him to come, and they started a petition to disinvite Trump from CPAC, and that they were calling on the leadership of CPAC to deny him his speaking slot. And I looked in vain for Sargon covering that regressive of those activities on the right of denying people freedom of speech and freedom of thought.
I'd just like to. One thing I did find very funny about that CPAC conference was that Wayne Lapierre, the head of the NRA, spoke there, but actually where the conference was being held was a gun-free zone. Literally, they weren't allowed to take guns on site. But yet they had the fucking chair or president of the NRA speaking about how great guns were. You cheeky pricks.
That's when
Mustn't have been very safe, eh?
Yeah.
Sounds like a really dangerous situation. There's no guns.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go to that sort of place. No guns.
Exactly. The only answer to bad conferences with guns is good conferences with guns.
Tim, did you want to get in on Kevin's comments or something?
Oh, just on the Zoe Quinn thing. At least from my impression, it was like they were saying that she was like an abusive girlfriend or something. You know, she treated him badly, and she was
she
cheated on him, and
she clearly wasn't like
emotionally
a great
abusive
girlfriend, but she's a free grown adult who can fuck who she wants to. That's the end.
Right. Well, I thought it was kind of like
she was
kind of. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say I read an article that was labeling her as the abuser, and whatever the fuck his name is, Edge or whatever it is the victim in this whole thing because reasons. I was like, you serious?
Just sort of spaceless speculation. From what I read.
if she was an abusive girlfriend and she treated him badly and she was manipulative and all this kind of stuff, I still feel like that's their personal business, and I don't respect somebody taking that and putting it on a blog on the internet, because I would never personally do that. That's like private, you know. If someone was abusive to me, I'm still not going to drag their whole name through the mud. I mean, it might feel nice, good for me to do so for my ego or something, but I just didn't respect what the guy did, even if he was being abused in some way, like emotionally or whatever. Maybe he's trying to shame her into, I don't know, something.
Yeah, I really know nothing about this topic, so I'll defer over to Michael.
Well,
Sorry, Michael and then
just
Kevin.
Shut up, Kevin.
Fuck
Any of my
and fuck Portugal.
Fuck you, Portugal. Any of my interactions with Gamergate guys have always been, yeah, but look at all the, you know, Anita Sarkeesian's a liar or Zoe Quinn's a liar. Look at the horrible things that they've done. You know, they doxed these people and they did this thing and they did that other thing, even though they haven't doxed anyone. And then my response is always, yeah, so that means that they should receive death threats and rape threats and have their families, you know, the safety of their families compromised and be bombarded night and day with abuse? No.
Yeah, like, if some other girl is being abusive to her boyfriend, I'm not going to fucking stick my nose in and be like, I'll take care of it from here, guys. I'm just some random person. Like, that's their personal shit.
Gamergate is the ultimate white knight troop. They're a fucking army of white knights for what's-his-face.
Yeah, for some random dude who wrote a blog about his girlfriend that he hated. It's like, okay.
Oh, they are the white knights.
Anyways, Kevin's time.
You know, I was just going to make a point. It's something that I've noticed within the Gamergate thing of slut-shaming Zoe Quinn and then saying, but I'm against slut-shaming. The ultimate example for me was actually a woman. And I know it was mainly a man-on-woman issue here, but was Siobhan Head. And I pointed out in her Descent of Manosphere video, she starts off doing a bit where she pretends she's Zoe Quinn and jerking air cocks off, for want of a better phrase, at the start of her video, and then goes on to say, oh, but we shouldn't slut-shame Zoe Quinn. It's too late. You've already done it before you then say it, so it's irrelevant. It's like saying, well, I'm against murder whilst you're surrounded by corpses that you've just fucking killed. It's ridiculous.
I saw her response to that. She said it was all like a joke or whatever. That she was just kidding around.
Oh, yeah. It's Schrodinger's douchebag.
Schrodinger's douchebag. Yes.
Because I watched her and Skeptic's response to your Manosphere, Kevin.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, that's what I'm referring to. Yeah. Where she said, "Oh well, I said in the video that I was against slut shaming." Yeah, but after you'd already just slut shamed her by pretending to be in some sort of air gangbang as Zoe Quinn, jerking people off. Like,
it's just humour. It's a joke.
It's not. Well, no. It would be if it weren't for the fact that you're playing to a gallery of hundreds of thousands of misogynist dicks who want to see her slut shamed. Then that context puts it into a very different light.
That's just a coincidence.
Just a coincidence. And it's just a coincidence that Sargon happens to be really, really chummy with someone like Milo Yiannopoulos, even though he's a liberal, apparently.
It certainly is.
So if we can, it sounds like I want to kind of wrap up the bit and make a clean transition over to the responses that you guys have to his response to our Hangout. So in terms of the Michael Brooks conversation, I'm going to give some closing remarks and you guys can all go around in turn if you want to. But what I would say is, Sargon, if you're going to debate me, you need to define your terms. You need to have more than headlines. And you need to be able to do more than just say, that's an example of what I'm talking about without defining it. I mean, I think a formal debate is a proper time to make a clear argument that is based in reality and give the best defense of that you can, and then also to listen to your opponent, hear what they're saying, and Kevin, you're ruining my dialogue here.
I do. I apologise that my face is exploding. What can I fucking do?
And to
as
make
I'm
strong
sneezing, I can't fucking see. What? So go on.
There's a mute button. Daft. There you go.
So I really was not impressed with his performance on the Michael Brooks show at all, and I would really hope he ups his game when he comes and we have our chat. So that was my impression of his hangout with Sam Cedar, the Majority Report. Anyone else want to go?
Yeah. Like I said, I thought that it was hilarious that the whole time he just managed to avoid, like, his level of avoidance of describing what the regressive left is was fucking fantastic. The way that he was able to avoid that the whole fucking time was just fantastic. So good job on that, Sargon. The other thing that I thought was great was, I mean, Tim said that, you know, Michael's a hard ass and he's being mean to, or, you know, he's often quite, you know. I thought it was fantastic. I thought he kept Sargon fucking on the coals the whole time. He didn't let him, you know, try to sideslip, which he managed to do anyway, to be fair, because they ran out of time. But I like that of being. The only thing I think he needed was like a go on hold button like Matt Dillahunty, so he could just be like, hold motherfucker, you will listen to me and then you will answer my question, and if you don't answer my question, I'm going to put you on hold again until you answer my damn question. That would have been probably the best.
It was almost like listening to a politician, wasn't it? When they
Sargon's
yeah, exactly, yeah. Where you'll ask the politician 10 fucking times in a row and they'll never actually answer the question. And then, well, the only difference being, I don't think Sargon was playing for time in the way that they do, because they know the segment in the show is only going to be like 2 minutes. So basically, refuse to answer the question for 2 minutes and then get through it.
There's also, because when you said that about a politician, who comes up to my mind was Ted Cruz. And there wasn't one thing that I did want to bring up, which is that there's a very common tactic that Republicans use when they go on the Sunday talk shows or other things with Democrats. And the Democrat will start saying something the Republican doesn't want the audience to hear, and they will just start talking over the Democrat so that you end up not being able to hear anything, because all you hear are two people saying words and you can't figure out who's making what argument. And they will either keep talking until the moderator stops them, or they'll keep talking until the Democrat gives them the floor. And that's what Michael Brooks would do sometimes. He would give Sargon the floor if he just kept talking over him. And that's why formal debate, again, is very necessary, because it's denying your opponent their opportunity to speak by talking over them is a way to silence them.
Exactly, as you've silenced me several times tonight.
Yes, and I had to, for good reason.
With your schoolmistress ways.
Yes, when I have more than 3 people in a hangout, I need to keep I actually even let you guys off the leash a little bit. It was a little bit, you know. So, right. Now, so we're going to start wrapping it up here. Well, at least going to the last section, which the last section is really to talk about Sargon's response. We touched on it a little bit to point out that he doesn't even seem to know that there were 4 people in a 2-hour hangout. But yeah, I know, Michael, would you like to start off this round of discussion? Because I know there's some things that you had in mind.
Yeah, sure. I watched his response, and I'm going to be, you know, a self-centered prick and only respond to the things that he responded to me about, because, you know, that's what I do. But basically, there was one section where I said, you know, it's like we were talking about the definition of liberal, I think. Well, it was him defining things in a self-serving way. Progressive, yeah, that's right. Sorry. And I said it's like where if you asked a theist to define atheism, and they never do it right. And he took that to, he said something like, are you saying that if you ask a creationist what atheism was, then they wouldn't know that that's a denial of belief in God or something like that? And yeah, that's exact. They don't know. They always define atheism in a self-serving way, a way that's going to allow them to shift the burden of proof to the atheist. You know, so that, you know, when you come in and say, oh, you know, you're the one who's asserting there is a God, therefore you are the one who has to provide evidence that that God exists. And they say, yeah, well, you're an atheist, and you say that God doesn't exist, so you need to provide proof that he doesn't exist. And it's like, no, that is bullshit. That is not what atheism means. That you're redefining the term to be a self-serving thing, and that's exactly what he was doing. And so, yeah, it really, that's one of my like pet peeves, is when people go, you know, they redefine what atheism is, and they also they think of atheism and agnosticism and theism as like 3 things on a line when they're totally not. That really gets my goat as well. So and that's a thing that creationists do all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And
that annoyed me about Sargon's response actually as well. I don't think at any point we were saying asking a creationist for a definition of atheism is necessarily always wrong, because creationists, I think a lot of them, understand what atheism is. But unfortunately, many of the kind of the atheists with whom you might actually have an online discussion are more than happy to essentially lie or to misdiagnose or whatever what an atheist is, and they'll often say, instead of it being the negative, I don't believe that a God exists, it's the positive, I believe that a God does not exist.
No.
And that's what we're saying. We're not saying that a creationist can't define atheism properly. It's that most of the time they don't seem to.
They just don't fucking do it.
You can't trust what they're saying.
I think the argument on sources is not that anybody can't define something correctly. Like, anybody can define something correctly. It's what's the likelihood that they're going to define it correctly based on their agenda. So if you ask someone who hates something to define something, they're likely to give you a negative definition. But if you go to like a neutral source or someone who doesn't have any skin in the game, whatever, they're going to be more likely to give you a good definition. I think that's the basic equation. You know?
And
It's like asking Sargon of Akkad how to define feminism. He's not going to do it properly.
Yeah, he's likely to give you a shitty one, because.
Yeah.
Well, ask him to define patriarchy. He's likely to define it as a religion that's made up and doesn't exist, because that's his whole thing. Now, if he provided a very neutral and very fair definition of patriarchy, I think we'd give him credit. We'd be like, okay, like he's actually giving a fair definition. It's not
Well, you
likely.
can give an accurate definition of regressive left.
Nah.
That's trickier because that's less of an actual thing. Like, patriarchy is like male dominance in society, like economically, like physically. Even though apparently, well, Sargon was saying women control the finances, which means they control the money. So there is that. But
this is why in social sciences we have to work with concepts very carefully, because when you start to define things, it sets up how you're going to measure them. And if you set up your definition wrong, then you're going to set up your measurement wrong, and your results aren't going to be accurate. So it's really important, so you can interpret things after you've measured them accurately. But this idea that you can dismiss the patriarchy because you don't like it, you are not conforming your views to reality. And reality is always going to be right. Yeah?
Let's study the patriarchy. Our definition is a myth that's total lies. Now let's test this. Like, what? That's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you can test whether it's a decent concept. You just need to test it from a place where you're giving it fidelity, like you're actually rendering it like it is. Go, Kevin.
I was just going to say, he literally referred to it to feminism as a religion, didn't he? In the right towards the end of his response, he said, "I know you're very wedded to your religion." Well, what's the point in even really trying to discuss with you then? You're a fucking
citation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's the whole principle of charity thing, like trying to interpret your opponent's argument in the most charitable way, rather than twisting it and being like, well, they're obviously full of shit. They believe this, and that other thing, and then going from there. You're not going to have a productive, honest discussion if you don't allow the other person to be.
That's why I think regressive is stupid, because like I've talked to so many people and they're like, "Oh, you're so regressive. You're such a regressive. You're regressive," and my only response to that is like, "Fuck you." I don't know what the fuck. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Fuck off. Make an argument, or just get fucked. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, good point. Yeah, great point. I'm a regressive." Now I'm just gonna say fuck Islam in every single tweet, and some people would actually quite dig that, I think. But I feel like I want to say a few more things than just fuck Islam. I want to say, I don't know, fuck other things. Fuck. I don't know. If you guys have some ideas. Fuck wallpaper. No.
Fuck Portugal.
You know what I mean? Like.
Fuck Portugal.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Portugal.
But they want you to talk about one thing, and that's it. And if you talk about anything else, you're regressive. But I think make an argument or shut the fuck up. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And I think in this. Sorry, can I just jump in? And you can come up next on it, Michael. Sorry, you guys were talking about a lot of things and they're going through my head, but it had to do with the fact that. No, it's gone. Michael, go ahead. It might come back.
Sorry, Kristi. I just wanted to bring up the whole idea of like pointing to you ignoring one thing while they completely ignore that problem everywhere else. Like, so his thing about homosexuality, he keeps harping on about this homophobia statistic. 93% of the Middle East are homophobic. 93%. We can agree that 93% of the frickin' Middle East are homophobic. No, we can't, you fucking cocksucker. And okay, so I found a Pew research poll.
Ad hominem.
Your arguments
Go
are
on.
shit because you suck dicks. That's why. No.
Yeah, that's
surely
an
that would be.
That's an ad
Surely that
hominem.
would be. That would be an ad homonym.
Depends on who you aim it at, I guess.
I just had some energy drink, so now I'm just like fucking. If in this Pew Research study thing, it says in the Middle East, so you've got places like Tunisia, Jordan, and Egypt, which are like 94, 97, 95% don't think that homosexuality should be a good thing. But then you've got places like Israel and Lebanon. Lebanon has, Israel is like 50-50. Lebanon's a little bit like 30-70. Okay, so not all of the Middle East is explicitly homophobic, but then you've got places like Africa, which is just fucking homophobic down the line.
Well,
But I don't
I'm
care
checking
about
the
that
wiki.
shit.
I'm looking at the wiki on Africa. It says 47% of the population is Muslim, and
There's
then the
also-
second largest is Christian, and it's the most homophobic.
Yeah, there's this concept in social science called social desirability, and it's when a stranger calls you up and says, "Do you go to church on a weekly basis?" and you think, "Oh, I don't, but I'll sound like a jerk if I don't say yes, so yes." And you think people who live in highly authoritarian countries, when they're answering surveys, are going to give their honest response if they disagree with the official position on homosexuality?
Mm.
Or like you were saying before, like have in places like the Middle East, which are patriarchal societies, are they gonna allow women to do these surveys? Are there going to be certain minorities that won't be allowed to do these surveys? I don't know.
There
it
are
just
questions
seems-
that need to be answered.
Yeah.
Well,
It just seems kind of
here it
stupid to be
says-
going asserting that 93% of the Middle East is homophobic,
Yeah,
while
that's
also
bullshit.
ignoring the other places that
Just-
America, the homophobia. Come on.
Just quickly, here in Africa it says 45% are Christian, according to Encyclopedia Britannica. 45% are Christian, 40% are Muslim, 10% follow traditional religion. So I'd be interested in a breakdown of whether the Christian or Muslim countries are the most homophobic. Breaking that down, I'm not really sure how that would pan out.
Yeah, I think you would need to. The energy drink really did hit Michael.
Yeah.
So,
Like, do you
yeah.
think the Christian or the Muslim countries in Africa would be the most homophobic? I feel like I'd have to look at the stats on that.
His point is though that the regressive left are ignoring the homophobia in those regions because they want to allow. Is that what it is? Is that his point?
Well, again, who
I-
knows?
I hate
Well, I would
homophobia
ask-
across the board.
I would ask him why he doesn't address the homophobia shown by people like Milo Yiannopoulos.
Exactly.
He hangs around with homophobia.
Western homophobia is not important.
Only in the Middle East. So I remember what it was, the principle of charity that you brought up, Michael. I made a C with my hand to remind me what I wanted to say. And that was in case people go, "Oh, well, you guys in the principle of charity, you're not being very charitable to Sargon." Well, we're not discussing Sargon's arguments here. We're discussing his behavior. We're discussing
What
how he... Yeah,
Anyway.
we're discussing when he goes on and he quote mines people live, when he cites headlines from studies instead of studies, when he does appeal to motive fallacies, when he makes accusations about what Michael Brooks's audience does in terms of throwing around, racial insults at people. So this isn't about, a philosophical, charitable position where we're trying to give Sargon's arguments in the best light possible. That's not what this is. This is about us looking at his behavior and comparing it to fallacies and fallacious ways of operating and arguing, and pointing out that that is how he operates. He operates from a non-evidence-based, rigorous in terms of having a neutral definition in order to be accurate, in order to hold yourself rigorous. And he also does not do proper research. He doesn't listen to his opponents, and he doesn't think through things, the consequence of things, properly. Had he thought through the consequence of, providing a definition for the regressive left, then in his interview with Michael Brooks, they actually might have made some forward progress on identifying policy areas where liberals could really do better. But instead, because he wanted to call names and avoid giving a definition, he ended up coming off looking really badly.
I like how he took that one example of a guy calling Majid Nawaz a Porsche monkey, and then just generalized that to Michael's entire audience. He was like, "Yeah, well, that's probably the people that do that are probably just watching your show as well." What?
Well, I saw that when it happened, and people were like, "What do you have to say about this guy who works for Glenn Greenwald who called Majid bad names?" And I was like, I'm against it. Simple.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have called him a monkey. It's fucked up.
Yeah, you have. There's this idea of thinking of things as monoliths that basically, Chanty Binks shouted at people, therefore all feminists are evil scum. You know, it's ridiculous. I'm only being slightly over the top there, not as over
Shouting
the top
is
as
regressive.
Yeah, exactly. Apart from when it's a fucking feminist system.
I did find that finally. I did hear the "What Is Love" version of it. That was amazing.
Oh my god.
What is the fucking feminist system?
That's hilarious.
But can I change the topic slightly, or
Yeah,
Michael's
please.
going to say something?
I wanted to.
Oh, go.
I just wanted to add on the end.
I'm regressive. I'm interrupting you.
I just wanted to add on the end of the monolith thing, because he mentioned that, we mentioned the Scum Manifesto in the last thing, and he was saying about he seemed to be confused about the fact that this ridiculous thing that this woman had written was not a product of her feminism, but in fact a product of the fact that she was kind of bonkers. And Tim pointed out in his response to this, well, yeah, if it was a product of her feminism, you'd expect to see that sort of thing more broadly across. You'd see it coming out of feminism a lot more, but instead you don't really find that, and also you don't really find many followers of that thing. And I thought there was. What's that?
You speak for yourself. I've called for the death of all men.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's true.
Fair enough.
He's a foot soldier for the gynocracy, according to his Twitter profile.
That is true.
Yeah.
No,
I just thought it was rather reminiscent of.
Sorry, go on.
You're just the worst. God. I'm
British.
I thought it was
everywhere I go.
You want a cup of tea? Yeah. I thought it was rather reminiscent.
That's racial profiling, motherfucker.
Down with. No, I thought it was rather reminiscent of when creationists will cite guys like Hitler or Mao or whatever and say, look, they're atheists, therefore atheism is bad, and if you have an atheist worldview, then the world's going to go to shit, because that's what happens when atheism is in charge. It's pretty much the same thing. I made that point in my video, and I think that's basically what he's doing. Look at this one thing.
If you were to throw out like the idea that, well, if you're an anti-feminist or if you're a misogynist or blah blah blah, you're going to end up shooting loads of people like Elliot Rodger did. They would quite rightly say, "You can't. That's disgusting. How dare you say such things?" Yeah.
But wait. So when a woman shoots a man and she writes a book that has mentally disturbed writings in it, then it's her feminism that's driving it. But when a man goes on a shooting spree and says that he's going to go target women because they haven't been sleeping with him, that's because he's mentally ill.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, I think they could point to examples of other feminists saying kill all men, but all of those examples would come out of the radical sphere. It wouldn't come from the mainstream. So they'll be like, look, here's another radical feminist who says kill all men.
You're such a regressive, adding layers of nuance and stuff.
Sorry, guys.
I like how the women actually haven't gone and killed all men though. It's just a hashtag on Twitter. But then you have guys like Elliot Rodger that went and killed a bunch of women.
But we can agree it is coming.
Difference? Yeah, the male apocalypse. We're gonna destroy all men.
It's gonna come.
I've got my AK. Where's yours? Where's yours?
I believe it's called demenstruation, isn't it?
Is it?
It's got so many layers. It's like demonstration and demenstruation and just lots of things.
That's only two. That's not many layers. Anyway, go on.
Two is not many. You need at least three to have many.
No, but it's also demonstration. It's three. Demonstration, demonstration.
Oh God,
we gotta move on.
Stay
I feel
away
a rap
from
coming
me,
on.
Michael, for fuck's sake. It's toxic for me.
Demonstration. Yeah, I've got myself in the nation. That's why I've got my face in the video.
Never release an album.
Oh,
you probably will. You're a
There's
musician.
too much whiteness going on here. My brain's gonna fucking explode.
Yeah.
So we should say Demotivator Opinions, your channel has a response video to Sargon on it already, so people can also go and watch that. Is there anything in your response video that you wanted to bring up here in the chat for everybody else? Did you remember making it? Do you remember what you said?
I think I was probably on a lot of drugs. I was pretty heavily medicated.
Drinking.
I was on horse tranquilizers. I can't remember what the fuck I said. No, not really. I was actually just thinking of a different topic, which is that back and forth we've had about Sargon debating you, and he was like, equivocating on that, and then he said, but you can come on my channel and I can interview you. And I was just thinking about that, and that's basically like, if we have a debate with set up rules where you have to follow a certain structure, I can't just bullshit riff about stuff, but if we have an interview, I can ask you questions like, why is patriarchy such a religion? Or how do you back up the fact that feminism is garbage? Like, what do you have to say? Or do you feel like you're putting a lot in with something that's irrational? Like good interview questions.
That accent is racially insensitive. That is
That was
outrageous.
a great accent.
That is outrageous anti-Britishism from
Have you heard
colonial
that?
types.
Christy, how do you account for the fact that you're stupid?
I'd love him to do that voice. That'd be fucking amazing.
That's what Sargon sounds like. No, he doesn't.
But the whole point
sounds
of wanting a conversation rather than a debate
British.
is because he basically puts the power in his hands, doesn't it? When it's an
interview.
A conversation. Rather than
Like, do you want
meeting
to come
as
talk about
equals,
how
sort of
stupid
like-
and irrational you are?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it ends up, what he did with Michael Brooks was, again, to say, what do you think of this? What do you think of that person? When we agree that all Muslims consciously hold these regressive views, what do we do about it? Well, that's a hypothetical on top of a bunch of bullshit you just made up. So why should I give you my opinion on nonsense? And that's why having a focused question and having time so that you can understand, your opening statements, the amount of information you can cover, and in your responses you can, listen to them and their points, and then make your counter arguments, and you have that back and forth. And you can't be talked over. You can't be interrupted. You can't have someone define a question in a way that puts you in a corner. And in some ways, if he did it like Jeremy Paxman, it would be more admirable. But it's a sort of like, well, we can both agree that there are problems with radical feminists, and we can also agree that these problems manifest in this way. And this whole attempt to keep receding ground by looking like you're making concessions to agreement, again, is really just about drawing you into a predetermined answer that he wants you to say, well, if you said yes to X, Y, and Z, then you have to say yes to Z. Whereas in a formal debate structure, you can't do that. You judge each argument on its merits and how well it defends itself against evaluation and critique.
Well, I think he wants to bring you on his channel and then this is Kristi, she represents how feminism is shit, and then he's gonna basically throw a whole bunch of crap at you, and then you'll read the comments and they'll all be like, oh, Kristi's so lame, and that's what he wants, and then all his fans will be like, feminism garbage.
It's quite sweet that you think they'll just say she's lame.
Yeah.
She's so lame. You're too nice.
She could literally go on and say nothing, and they would still call her a cunt and a whore and all the rest of it.
Kristi's a
She wouldn't
dummy.
even say a word.
You know what, guys? I don't like Kristi. I just gotta say that. Hey, calm down, man.
Exactly. She didn't smile quite enough. That's disgusting. Fucking
disgusting. That's a bit harsh. Take that back.
Yeah.
But no, you are like the pinata. You represent feminism, and you need to be hit with a stick.
Yeah, I'm a cipher, and then you just sort of, you fill it in with whatever you want, and in this way he'll actually have to defend his position, and he'll have to argue what it is. Well, I haven't seen evidence that he can yet.
I don't want to hex the idea, but I'm not going to hold my breath as to whether he's ever going to agree to any question.
That's very possible. I mean, he's already backed out a couple times, and then agreed and then backed out again. So, and if people want to follow that, there is a Came the Dawn Storify that captures that back and forth. So,
he said he wants to talk about intersectionalism, what the fuck else? The gender pay gap, other shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not how debates work. You have a premise. You have a premise.
Yeah, sort of a general ramble, I guess, is what he's after.
I mean, I think, the Skeptic Feminists, that debate question was set. So if the question, in my mind, can be negotiated, but both parties have to agree, but the format can't be negotiated. Yeah. The format is the format.
I also think Michael Brooks was approaching it more like a debate, and Sargon was approaching it more just like a conversation about just sort of rambly, random shit. And
well, to be fair,
Yeah.
To be fair to Sargon, unless those rules are set down by both parties and agreed to before the thing, I don't think you can approach it as a debate. It has to be a conversation at that point because it's just two people talking.
Right. But I think Michael had a very strong agenda, which was, I want to flesh out this regressive thing. And Sargon was not prepared for that. He was sort of
No,
just like,
again,
oh,
I don't want to come across all of a sudden as Sargon's fucking mate, but
Don't worry, you won't.
there was an element of sort of ego involved because Sargon had responded to something that he'd said in a video, and so it was a kind of Billy Big Dick situation where I'm the more intellectually endowed or whatever, and it was kind of pathetic in a way.
Oh, they were always like that on that show. Like they are brutal on the callers, and they always laugh at the callers, which gets kind of distracting. Like the caller will be making a point, and you can just hear everyone in their studio going like
in the background. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's even if I don't agree with the caller, I think that's kind of rude. Like you shouldn't just laugh at people, But they do that, but Sargon to an extent should have known that this is going to be very. Not hostile, but like they're not going to give me any benefit of the doubt in this conversation.
You have to come out of the bubble.
I assume that. If I go on someone's channel, unless they're like, look, I'll go on Kristi's channel, we know each other sort of, and we're friendly or whatever. But if it's like someone who I know holds a different opinion, I assume it's going to be hostile. I don't know why.
Well, you need to watch. You need to watch one of their interviews or watch one of their conversations, and
you mean do research?
He didn't bother watching any of Michael Brooks's interviews or debates.
Michael's
Especially
trying to
Sam Cedar. I mean, yeah.
Sam Cedar.
Sam wasn't on it, Sam wasn't on it, but like Sam is as harsh or more, and all of the YouTube comments are all like, "This guy's such an arrogant prick," because he is.
Very can be, yeah. That's sort of his gig. Isn't
Yeah, it is.
But I mean, like you get. That just seems to be how you've got to be. I mean, I always enjoyed Matt Dillahunty's stuff on the atheist experience.
Ah, yeah.
I can't even say the fucking word. Atheist experience, and he was never, not kind, but allowed anyone to give any shit. Yeah, if someone fucking was stupid or was saying stuff and they wouldn't back up their assertions or whatever, he would hold their feet to the iron and just keep pounding them all day long.
He's always like, I've got you on mute right now. If the next thing you say is stupid, I'm booting you. And you're like, oh shit.
And then he unmutes. And then he'll unmute and then be continuing to talk.
Wait. Sorry, Michael, finish up and then Kevin pop in because I think you had started, Michael.
I was just saying that he'd unmute and the person would still be rambling from the last time they were already put on hold. So they hadn't even noticed that they were on hold, and they're still just like, and fucking atheists are killing the world, and this and that other thing, and Matt's just like, fine, go on.
Yeah, Kevin.
You're out.
No, I'm done, basically. I wasn't really saying anything of any note, as usual. So,
okay, then.
So I guess the thing of this hangout is...
Sorry, bro.
Was there anything of substance in Sargon's videos that you guys actually thought, I mean, not like, the sexist comments, but actually something that we could take on board from his video? I guess it's worth asking that question.
Well, if you want to be an unscrupulous dickhole, you can get lots of fans.
That's
a lesson we can all fucking learn.
Do you think that he did any actual valid critique?
He called me a potato head again.
Called you potato head again? There we go. Was that
in the debate or in his video?
No, in his video response.
He started his video response by saying, I can't believe these people don't know how dumb they are. How are they this dumb?
So poisoning the well.
I'm pretty dumb.
Yes, that's what we should take from this, is we all are actually retarded, clearly.
Don't cut that out. Don't edit that out. And also Michael's a ginger.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, but look at my fucking beard, so am I, man.
I can't tell the qualities.
You are a ginger, aren't you?
I can't. You have to make noise, Michael. We can only see in the bottom. You have to like howl or something.
Wah! Wah!
Yeah, he's pretty fucking ginger, I gotta say. I don't know. It's actually difficult for me to think of any substance. I don't know. It was mostly just him shitting on you guys. I can't think of anything else.
He does have a good beard. I'll give him that.
The beard.
Yeah, he's got a solid beard game going on there.
And Michael, you said that now that he's on video, it's actually easier to watch his clips because it's not just his voice now.
I found it way less obnoxious than just looking at that fucking bust thing that he has there and
Actually,
listening to his voice.
I actually did too. I was like, this is kind of easier to watch now instead of just that
Yeah.
image.
Yeah,
And
it's
him
weird.
Okay, well, so there you go, Sargon, if you're still watching, or if his fans want to pass on the message that people from the Hangout really like seeing you on video rather than your avatar. That was the good thing that they could
See
say
your
about.
pretty face.
Yeah, but otherwise, you haven't really countered our evidence that you engage in fallacies and quote
And
mining.
also, Sargon,
He's got-
what if you're going to do a response? Watch the whole fucking thing, you lazy prick.
But that's based on the idea that we're
We should-
interesting to watch for 2 hours.
We should
Well,
have
no,
done the
you
thing.
don't have to sit there and watch it for 2 hours, but if you're not going to, don't respond to it. You don't have
We
to.
should have done that thing that John Oliver
You
does.
don't have to fucking respond.
It does kind of make our point about that he doesn't do proper research. And this is it, like the response video doesn't actually counter any of the fallacies that we identified, and his appearance on the Sam Cedar channel definitely is more evidence, more a series of data points that he's doing exactly the kinds of things that we've been critical of him about in the past. So
I finally thought of something.
Oh, go
He
ahead.
said the title was a fallacy, which
Oh, yeah.
was Sargon of Akkad is like creationists, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, I think there were two titles because I had the one going in, and then it just had Sargon in it. And then I thought, for people who want to search for it, I should probably do Sargon of Akkad. So I think the other one was Sargon versus creationists. What's the difference? Which a question couldn't be a fallacy because it's asking a question. It's not saying.
Well, I don't
But
think it's a
also, it's
fallacy.
a title. I don't think a title is
I
a
think
fallacy.
you can with the question if it's implying something like, is Sargon of Akkad a massive retarded prick? Like that's poisoning the well, isn't it? Really?
Right, but it said versus, not. It said Sargon versus creationists. What's the
Oh,
difference?
sorry, I thought you meant just. I thought you were saying.
Oh, like just in titles.
Yeah. Okay.
But a fallacy is
I
an
thought-
argument. It's not just saying something about someone that's. Go ahead.
Okay, well, the internet
Oh, you
Tim-
says poisoning the well
Tim's
is
gonna-
a fallacy.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, it's just the internet says poisoning the well is a fallacy. And I think there was an element of well poisoning because you're kind of putting the suggestion in people's mind that he's a creationist. But he said in the video that you literally said he's a creationist. And somebody gave me shit about that, and I went back and I watched it, and he said it. So, I mean, you weren't literally saying he's a creationist, but it did have a bit of a well poisoning element, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because then that's why I
it'd be great
changed the
if he-
title to tactics, to referencing the tactics. Because that's what we're pointing out, is that the tactics are identical, used by Sargon and used by, like Great Comfort and the whole yes set. Yes, say yes, therefore you have to say yes.
Yep. What's wrong with Kevin?
I'm just squishing my face now. You look
He's
weird.
sleepy.
All right, yeah, it's getting late here, and you guys and we've been going for like a really long time. But I feel like we've had a nice, robust discussion.
But just
I'm a
again,
grown
quickly on
adult,
that, do you think the
apparently.
title?
Now everyone's talking. Tim, go ahead.
Just quickly on that, do you think the title was a fallacy?
It wasn't meant
That
to
you
be. It
did
was just
it.
meant to be eye-catching. I mean, I also the content of the video, so I know I had spent a lot of, it's spent time. Well, I had the examples before, so I know that I could demonstrate it. So
It's
it
just
was,
that's one of the main complaints he had, and it
Yeah.
was the first one he had. So
Yeah. So okay. So in this one, just to be fair, I did not put any kind of well poisoning in the title of this video. So look at that, Sargon took on board your criticism and
talking
altered.
about the douchiness of Sargon.
Yeah. We're not going to poison the
that.
well before people click the video.
Is Sargon
I
a
am.
knobhead?
Sargon's a dick. There you go. Poison the hell.
That's too late. We're already done.
Good job.
Oh, damn it. I don't know what's
Oh.
happened to my camera. It's gone mental. But there you go.
Yeah, I
Good
think it's
timing.
YouTube is trying to tell us that we've been on for multiple hours and we should probably shut the hell up now.
I prefer that.
What is the
picture.
time
I'm
now, Kevin?
sitting there. That's nice. Sorry. Go on.
What is the time, Kevin? Just
In
curious.
England, it's 4 minutes to 10 p.m.
4 minutes to 11 for me.
Oh
which is
man,
wrong.
you're such
That's just an hour wrong, clearly.
a
I mean,
beta.
on the wrong side of the world. It's probably some crazy.
Sleepy
hour.
at 10 p.m. You're sleepy at 10 p.m. You're a beta male, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. I am clearly. I've been cooked. I've been cooked by time. That's how bad
There
it
you
is.
go.
And if you
What
guys
does
can
cunt
actually,
mean? I don't get it.
All right, someone else explain it. I just want to say we have 39 viewers, which is crazy because we've been on for like 2 hours. But yes, someone.
90% of them hate us. No.
I'm always really grateful, but always really, really baffled as to why anyone would want to watch me at all. I get that it's someone else's channel, but when I sit there and it's like there are 27 people, and why? Go and do something, you mental case. Why are you watching me?
Do you know what
That's counterproductive, Kevin.
And then Kevin.
Fuck all 39 people. There you go. I've said it. It's out there.
A definition of a cuck. I think this is something that a term that you've disparaged on your channel. Can you define for Michael what a cuck is?
A cuck. Well, it's again, as with regressive, it doesn't mean what it once did. It's derivative of cuckold, isn't it? Which I think is a bird thing, where they'll put like their own eggs in someone else's nest for that other bird to raise them. Transferred into human form as like the idea of raising someone else's kid, which is really ironic that Sargon hangs around with people who use that term, because he's literally, under their definition, a cuckold. He has a stepdaughter. So I mean, it's ridiculous. But basically, it now just means anyone who is slightly left of Genghis Khan.
And a man. Women can't be cucks, can they?
You probably can. I would imagine it's been elasticized, if that's a word, to the point where it probably can be used for women. To be honest, it shouldn't be, because that's not really what it is. But who cares? I mean, like I say, they just use it for anyone who isn't alternative right scum.
Yeah, there's a term now, isn't it? A cuckservative.
Conservative, yeah. Jeb Bush is the arch conservative, apparently. Basically, again, anyone who is to the left of Donald Trump or Genghis Khan, they're basically on the same spot politically, aren't they?
I think it's essentially got exactly the same meaning as a beta male, in my opinion. Like someone who's weak.
Yeah, essentially it's used in the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, like a weak guy.
But again,
I'm weak. I'm fat.
As with SJW, they start eating one another. Someone slightly further to the right will call, Jeb Bush a cock, and then someone slightly to the right of that person will call them a cock, and someone slightly to the right will call that, and it just eats itself. It's ridiculous.
And then you end up with Donald Trump in this faction of the Republican Party. Is exactly
He'll be
what you have.
Exactly. If you want to know how ridiculous the Donald Trump candidacy is, go and watch the videos of Matt Forney and know that man thinks that Donald Trump is the fucking shizzle.
Oh yeah.
Is there such thing as like a gamma male or like an omega male?
Omega, yeah.
Omega.
Levels of...
Omega's seen as like the lowest of the low, isn't it?
I see. So there are like levels
like
of this weird...
Like a puddle of goo. That's what an omega male is. Like just a green puddle of goo.
I see myself very much as an epsilon male, so I'm right in the middle there. It's nice.
Oh, that's good.
So, any other points that you guys have been meaning to bring up and you haven't had a chance
I don't think I've mentioned enough tonight. Fuck Portugal. I don't think I've
God damn.
I'd like to try and get Michael Rowlands sucks sweaty donkey balls trending. That'd be great.
Yeah. Hashtag Michael Rowlands sucks sweaty donkey balls.
That's a bit long, isn't it?
It might be the entire tweet.
Yeah.
Make Donald Trump forget was pretty long.
That's my favourite ever hashtag that anyone has ever done ever. It's brilliant.
So good.
Which one's that?
Make Donald Trump again.
That's quite cool too. That one's possibly too serious though. That's the problem.
People are complaining about it. They missed the fact that Donald Trump made fun of Jon Stewart's last name, and he's like, "Why'd he change it from Leibowitz? What's with this guy? He's a loser. He's a dummy. He's a big baby. Whatever." That's why John Oliver did it.
Did you see Sargon's response to John Oliver?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty silly.
Yeah,
I made a video about that. Yeah.
I didn't think
Kevin.
you did.
Did I copy you or did you copy me? I can't remember.
I copied you because I watched your one first.
Cool.
Well, now I know what I'm doing after the show then.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw
And I
Michael's
talked about
one
how
today.
terrible Kevin's response was. It was just awful.
It was. To be fair, it was.
I'm kidding.
Kevin Logan sucks sweaty donkey balls.
There can't be
Tell
two,
everyone, fucking hell. What are you doing?
but only sweaty. It has to be sweaty.
Yeah. You have to run the donkey around a whole bunch first. You got to
Alright,
run
so I
around the yard.
think we are getting into that place where we're going to descend into comments that we're not going to
exactly. Let's just be as crude as we can and destroy Kristi's reputation completely.
Yeah.
Because it's her channel. Fuck her.
Sweaty donkey balls are my favorite for licking in my face.
Ugh. Yuck.
Alright.
And a lot of empirical research went into finding that favourite. He licked a lot of different animal balls.
We're going to be moving this. Alright, so for those of you in the chat, we're going to be moving this
comment on this
conversation offline.
I have nothing to say about the donkey balls.
Because obviously the combination of tiredness and energy drinks is really, and 2 hours of talking about Sargon is...
It's now just a room of overtired children.
It's time for recess and then nap time, guys.
I'm just going to retract my shell here.
Alright, so...
Safe space.
We're going to keep talking, so I'm just going to say from Kevin, Michael, Tim, and also Russian Deadpool and me, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you guys had as many laughs as we have. Yes, watch them all muck about in the bottom, at least Michael anyway.
Fuck Portugal.
And fuck Portugal. So thanks, you guys. I've been Kristi. You've been awesome. Maybe we'll tell you about what happens in the chat afterwards if you're really nice to us. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.